Thank you, Shoxon, Demon, and Wicked. It's now time for SK Gaming versus the Super Hot Crew. These teams have met twice before in Week 1, where Enrated ran Galio. Actually, it was in Week 2, I'm pretty sure. No, it wasn't. It was the 4th game in Week 1. I'm tripping myself up. Let me start again. Enrated ran Galio support for the only time in the LCS, and thanks to his engagers, SK did manage to pick up the win there. The next time that they then played was in Week 3, where Candy Panda had that incredible performance on Sivir, but it just wasn't enough to carry his team.
No, it wasn't. And with the record being tied at 1 game apiece, I think we have to keep our eyes on which jungler will get their AD carry rolling sooner. I think both of these teams hinge on their dual lane performance in conjunction with ganks from Sven or Impaler. Both of these junglers are very important in helping their teammates during the laning phase, with Sven having that 71% kill participation and Impaler having 69%. It's going to be an interesting battle between these two and how they interact with the rest of their teams.
And both of these teams find themselves 7-7 on the split, and both have seen a surge in their performances over these last few weeks as well. SK have won 3 out of their last 5 games. Super Hot Crew have won 4 out of 5.
Yeah, they're definitely performing better. You can almost write off those original games, at the beginning of the split. And I think in more recent weeks, SK Gaming took down both Gambit and Fnatic in fairly one-sided showings, led in part once again by Sven Skjern on Pantheon. Last week, Sven had the option to play Pantheon or Elise, and he opted to play the Spartan. I highlight that because Sven Skjern has secured 1/3 of all of his kills, as well as 1/4 of all of his assists on Pantheon. And when you consider he's played 7 champions in total, it really shows his strength and his aptitude on that one.
And Super Hot Crew, on the other hand, have also had the strong performances and also played lots of Pantheon. In addition to Super Hot Crew having a strong jungler, we have to talk about their AD carry, Mr. Rals. He's also pulled out the Draven last week, which he was the first AD carry to do so over here in Europe.
Yeah, and I absolutely love the pickup. He went 5-0-9 alongside his incredibly aggressive support Mixer, and the pick worked wonders. Super Hot Crew got one of the most aggressive dual lanes in the league, and alongside an incredibly aggressive jungler in Impaler, who likes to wrestle control of the game very early on in the laning phase. Over the last few weeks, we've seen Super Hot Crew been able to get control of the game and never let it go. The best way to show you how good the team is at controlling, during their last 3 games, they secured 10 out of the 13 Dragons, 2 out of the 3 Barons, and that was against Fnatic, Gambit, and Alliance. So it's not like it was against pushover teams.
And very impressive stats they are, to say the least. And with both of these underdog teams on the rise and tied in the standings, pulling a win in this match is key. And for Super Hot Crew's Impaler, that means looking out for Candy Panda's split push.
Super Hot Crew are probably the most improved team, probably alongside us.
I think we are the 2 teams who are on a good streak, SK and us.
I think we're the better, I want to prove that we're the better of the 2 uprising teams.
Our team confidence is definitely growing, but we're still humble because we're still kind of a bunch of underdogs seen as a team, but winning against big teams and one of the best teams like Rocket and Gambit and Fnatic definitely boosts our confidence.
I don't really like SK as a team because they rely so much on Candy Panda, like splitting all game, and that's just annoying because it's hard for me as a jungler to deal with.
Yeah, they're going to be a tough match. We're going to have to think about what to do against them.
I hope we'll just shut down Candy Panda and then we'll win.
Yeah, hopefully we can win, but it's going to be a close game and an important game.
So, things I got from that video: Candy Panda's annoying, and to win you have to shut him down.
Yeah, and the one thing I want to go back to is right at the beginning, they actually said, I want to prove I'm the better of the uprising teams. It was great to hear. I think it was Mima saying that during the video, and we'll see who's going to claim that title right now.
Well, let's have a look at the starting lineups of these teams. On the blue side for SK Gaming, they are Freddy in the top lane, Svenskron in the jungle, Jesus in the mid lane, the AD carry Candy Panda, and its support Enrated.
And of course, on the red side, it is the Super Hot Crew. Mima is up top, Impaler in the jungle, Moops in the mid lane with Mr. Oz and Mixer as the dual lane in the bottom.
So, with Champion Select about to hit our screens here, what are we expecting from this one?
This is a difficult champ pick ban phase because I think, once again, there's a lot of things to consider. I want to remind everybody, 4.2, Kayle changes are in effect, and these teams have got some interesting thoughts on Kayle, and we've been chatting to them. I also think Ziggs has to be a consideration. Jesus has consistently blown me away with his bouncing bombs on Ziggs, and we'll see whether or not SK are afraid of it.
Well, you're not the only one who's blown away. That's the problem, I think, for a lot of these teams. They've not gotten rid of it. Will we see that happen this time around? First ban out the gate, Gragas by SK Gaming, aimed straight in at Moop. Solid ban there, and the Cassadin ban for Super Hot Crew.
Now, thinking about some of the others, you see Draven has been removed from Mr. Rolls. They don't want to deal with that. I think Thresh might be a consideration. Elise has been removed from Super Hot Crew, so there's a lot of options available here for SK Gaming, and it's quite different to what I was anticipating.
Well, the final ban actually from SK will be Shyvana, taken away from Mima in the top lane. He's certainly been a player that's gone with that Shyvana on a couple of occasions, certainly. We'll see how that affects him here today. And the final ban actually, again, aimed in towards the mid laner. Jesus not going to have Orianna to play with this one. For me, a slightly stranger choice, but will that mean that Super Hot Crew are maybe aiming for that Ziggs?
I think it could be the case. SK Gaming could first pick Ziggs. It's something that Jesus does very well with. However, it would be a little bit risky when you consider there are some assassins up and available. Now, Moops hasn't necessarily played too many assassins in the past, but the option is there for him if he wants to go that route. At the end of the day, I think we see SK going with a very safe pick. This is a guaranteed lane victory in the early levels because SK, Renekton rather, can generally shut down a lot of people.
Well, the pick's actually coming in quickly from this one. That Renekton, as you said, for Freddy. On the other side, Thresh and Lulu picked up here for Super Hot Crew, telling us that Thresh is going to go over to Mixer #1. He's been super impressive with it. The Lulu again, is it going to go into the mid lane? Is there a possibility for it to go into the top lane? For me, that early of a pick suggests it might be a bit of a curveball.
I think it's more likely to be in Moops' hands. When we've seen Mima playing, his performances on the bruisery type champions is significantly better. Trundle is also available, so Mima could go that route. Knowing Moops' slightly more passive farm style of champions, Lulu is just a little offshoot of that one, so I am expecting that to go in the mid lane for him.
Well, on the other side, Pantheon was locked in by Svenskeren, along with the Annie support here as well, which is something that N-Rated has picked up a couple of times this season so far. Definitely not his most favoured support champion, but, you know, with Thresh already gone anyway, that's not that much of a surprise.
So what that leaves for the Super Hot Crew in terms of standard junglers would be the likes of Vi or Wukong in this situation, potentially even Lee Sin. We've seen some people playing it, but a lot more fringe. Zac is a champion that we've seen in North America. It has been picked up, it has been played a couple of times. It's a safe top lane pick. Last year, we've seen it in the jungle. So again, there are curveballs here from Super Hot Crew because we're not 100% sure where these champions are going to be going.
Well, one thing is for sure, getting that Lucian over there on towards Mr. Rolls may just be a good thing for them. He has played well overall with that Lucian. You know, his performance against Gambit and the Copenhagen Wolves, where he put up some impressive scores on that, come to mind. But Zac coming in here for the first time in Europe there, you can see with his pick and win rates. We'll see if those change after, well, they will of course change after this game. Captain Obvious Joe, but for the better is what I mean. On the other side though, Vayne, something that Candy Panda has treasured and done well with in the LCS so far, and they're currently hovering over the Nidalee, and hovering turns into a lock-in for Jesus.
So one of the key factors to picking a Vayne is not dealing with the Caitlyn lane, not dealing with somebody who can shut you down and really make your life difficult. In addition to that, if your opponent's composition is not necessarily the strongest at getting to you and killing you, that is a very good pickup. Vayne's going to be able to knock Zac away with the Condemn. Lulu's not necessarily the biggest of threats, so that's quite a smart lock-in here for SK Gaming because Vayne should be a little safer in those team fights.
And Nocturne coming in there as well, and we can see we don't know his pick and win rate because, well, the darkness, let's just call it that. And again, Nocturne coming in, not a jungler that we've become used to here in Europe, that's for sure, by any stretch of the imagination really, but something that they've been preparing off stage.
Yeah, and the one thing about the Nocturne pick is it's something that the challenger teams run quite frequently here in Europe, and it's somebody that was very, very popular last year. I talked about how SK Gaming weren't necessarily afraid of Super Hot Crew's composition because a Condemn could deal with Zac. Now all of a sudden, if Zac gets a good slingshot and Nocturne uses his ultimate, the Paranoia, to throw himself onto Vayne, there is some kill threat, there is some kill potential. Get to him, fear him, and try grab some kills.
So some interesting picks in this one for I think Super Hot Crew in particular, we're seeing first picks in the LCS on 3 different champions here for them. This is a new look for us, a new kind of Super Hot Crew style. Very interested to see how it goes.
The one thing I like about the initiation power that Super Hot Crew have is once Nocturne flies in or Zac flies in, they start bouncing around and Wild Growth knocks people up again. So there is quite a good CC chain that can come from those champions.
We'll see how they can make that one work. But now that the players are loading into the game, let's check in and see how you guys at home called this one. With 63% of the vote, SK Gaming leads over Super Hot Crew. I'm not sure that's too much of a
tough.
surprise.
I would personally call this 50-50. I think both of these teams have been playing well. The fact that Candy Panda got Vayne, which I think in our theoretical picks and bans, it was actually going to be removed. We'll have to see. For you guys at home, remember to stay tuned after the LCS because the European Challenger Series kicks off the second half of the Spring Series today, immediately after our matches conclude.
But first of all, we're into Game 2. SK Gaming versus the Super Hot Crew. 2 very much informed teams, 3 and 4 wins apiece in their last 5 matchups, and some impressive ones amongst them as well. Wins over Fnatic and Alliance for the Super Hot Crew. Wins over Roccat, Gambit and Fnatic for SK Gaming, their 3 wins that they were in those last 5. So very much important game. They're tied in the table. This is going to separate them.
Now what I'm very excited about is we talked about how important the junglers are going to be in this game. I felt that Pantheon was going to be a contested pick. And I think to myself that this Nocturne is a pretty good counter to that. If you consider when a gank begins and Nocturne throws down his ultimate, it blanks out the vision for SK Gaming. So Svenskeren with his Grand Skyfall is going to have to jump in blind, miss accurately, or simply not jump in at all because he's not going to know exactly where the fight is going down.
Really excited to see how this one all works out and things. And are we going to see anything at level 1? A couple of teams have been working a little bit more with level 1 and developing some more interesting strategies in there. N-Rated was always a big advocate of level 1 strategies and trying to work them in your favor. Currently we have a bit of a mirror going off. The Death Brush on either side of the river is going to be occupied by both Pantheon and Thresh down on the other side. But as it stands, it looks like we've got that standard line defense and then back off at around 140 to get your buff started.
Yeah, and we'll have to see how this laning phase transpires. Remember, this is 4.2, so Mixer's Thresh has slightly lower attack range on his auto attacks, gone from 475 to 450. And N-Rated on Annie has got the longest range support auto attack in the game. So N-Rated is going to be looking to poke and try to get as much damage down to prevent Mr. Rolls and Mixer getting onto Candy Panda's Vayne. And it's a matchup that SK Gaming have run successfully in the past.
So buff's going to be taken here. Candy Panda actually taking a bit of a hit down the bottom side from Mr. Rolls. And you have to be careful in this lane. Super Hot Crew do not mess about when it comes to down in the bottom. As we see Candy Panda there, not got much health at all. If they hit level 2 here, which they will do a little bit slower than SK, judging by how those minions are coming in, they need to be careful. And Rated does have it.
They're going to jump in.
They're going to jump in there, but there is a stun coming down. There is a dive in. Candy Panda's low. The exhaust is down. Has Mixer got enough? They've ignited him back. Mixer's low. First blood for Candy Panda. Insane down in the Vayne lane, in the bottom lane.
Securing the kill, Super Hot Crew did not use their flashes together. Mr. Rolls did not follow Mixer's flash exhaust up at all, and that ends up costing him. He gets the exhaust in Candy Panda, but thanks to the ignite from N-Rated, they give the first kill to Vayne, which is a terrifying thought.
Terrifying stuff as things go forward. We'll see how Candy Panda actually keeps that one moving on, and he's going to stick around from that low health or not. He's got a free bunch of minions to be farming up, and that's going to give him a nice lead over Mr. Rolls. However, we do have Pantheon coming in. Not much for the stiff in there for Svenskeren, to be honest. I'm not sure that he could get involved, and we can see on the minimap he has backed off.
This should allow SK Gaming to balance out that power difference between Lucian and Thresh. Once Candy Panda spends the money that he's earned, it does look like he's going to start backing off, grab himself most likely nearly Vamp Scepter, maybe even Boots. He can run around Mr. Rolls and Mixer. Now Jesus is in a little bit of trouble. It's caught by the Glue Lance.
Oh, the slow coming down. Are they going to be able to get in on top of him? Impaler's got the double buff as well. There goes the leash. Jesus is surely going to have to flash, and there is the flash, but it's really late for me. Impaler picks that one up. Svenskeren Svenskern's going to have to back away as well. They'll be able to keep him slowed, but not enough damage to finish off a second. One apiece, only 4 minutes in.
Very good play by Super Hot Crew. Once Nocturne lands that Duskbring on you, it just allows him to chase and kite. In addition to the movement speed that you get from Lulu and the slow from a Glitterlance, it's very powerful. This is the Jewel. Sven's in trouble.
Oh, Sven is in trouble here. The fear landed, bringing him back towards Impaler, but Impaler feeling like he's not got enough. Nidalee would already have spawned and was already working his way back up towards that mid lane area. In the end, Impaler backs off. Safe.
That was such a great little Jewel. Svenskern lands the stun, blocks the next auto attack thanks to his passive. As Svenskern throws out the spear shot, the spell shield from Impaler blocks that one, and they both decided, let's not risk it. The moment Impaler started losing HP, he was in risk of being automatically critical hit thanks to Svenskern's Pantheon. So I think wise play to back away. Impaler's got a kill, he's got a CS lead, and he did a little bit of counter jungling, so strong position to be in.
Freddy's having fun up in this top lane here. Mima going very low. Of course, he does have that passive to bring him back to life should he end up going down. Offers a bit of safety in that lane, but also it makes you a very large target once that passive has been popped, we have to say.
Now Freddy, with the fact that he's got Ignite, is going to be able to bully Mima's Zac around. This is an incredibly difficult lane matchup because Zac is basically a more effective Malphite in my mind. He's got very strong, long-range initiation that can offer a lot of CC with multiple knockups. The problem is, he's not really going to be able to out-damage or out-trade a Renekton in these situations. In order for Mima to stay sustained, he has to keep walking over those little globules of goo, which you see him doing repeatedly, but he's never going to be able to challenge Freddy or make Freddy's life very difficult without the help of a jungler.
So, as we revisit bottom lane here, let's have a look at some of the items after that first blood came in from Candy Panda. The Vampiric Scepter, along with his Doran's Blade. On the other side, a second Doran's was collected by Mr. Ralls. Not really much of a choice on that front. He needs to try and stay as even as he can with damage in that bottom lane with Candy Panda. We also saw the coin coming out from Enraged for him to get that extra gold rolling in.
Yeah, thanks to the assist very early on, he's already going to start scaling sooner than Super Hot Crew's Mixer will be. The one thing that we have seen from Enraged whenever he is on Annie, his engages are always very, very good. Annie is banned out against SK many times. It's one of the go-to bans because of the strength that Enraged has on this champion. He's got that stun primed up and he's just trying to zone Mixer and Mr. Ralls. He's doing a pretty good job of it right now. You see Mr. Ralls using his greater range to poke Candy Panda down.
Yeah, and good aim as well, going through them. We'll see how that one all continues to develop. In that mid lane, of course, Jesus did die a little early on. A messy fight that came from the mid lane all the way around towards that Wraith camp. Actually ahead of Moops in CS at this point. 2 Doran's rings for him. The Chalice over on the other side for Moops. Going to give him a bit more spam ability, but maybe more importantly, a bit more protection from Jesus' spears.
So one of the things I want to highlight from the fact that Jesus is playing that Nidalee is that Ziggs was available. Now on this patch, Ziggs, his minefield did take a bit of a knock. So the damage is reduced on multiple minions hit. So Jesus has decided to go for a champion that has less wave clear, but significantly harder hitting poke. Going to throw out the spears, and it is a champion he has played in the past.
Yeah, twice, in fact, ending with 2 kills in both of those ones. We'll see. Well, he needs to have more kills, I think, by the end of this one, and certainly more assists, if anything, other than kills to come down for him. Does get his blue buff here given over by Svensker, and that's going to give him a bit more time. He is now 6 as well, which will make him feel a little bit more safer about getting away, but also maybe starting off fights as well. What
I like about the pickup is it makes sieging so great. Nidalee can stand there, just spam out spears, and when a spear connects, you've got Renekton and Pantheon that can just dive in to either get the kill or to force Super Hot Crew away and allow Candy Panda to get on the tower. And in the pre-game video, Super Hot Crew was saying, shut down Candy Panda split push, stop Candy Panda split push, let's deal with Candy Panda split push. They've gave him the best split push champion in the game in terms of AD carries, because Vayne can duel, can split, and it's very difficult to shut down if he gets ahead.
Which he has done early on, although Mr. Rawls, credit where it's due, has pulled a good few minions back from this one, only 4 behind at this stage. There's a blue buff for Moops as well over on this Lulu, which we're seeing more and more appearing in this middle lane. Certainly a great champion. Have we been fully impressed? Have we seen the massive or the full capabilities of the Lulu yet?
So out of the Korean and the North American scene, I think we've seen some great Lulu players. Link in particular in NA stands out as a good player, and we've seen it a few times in EU. but Nukeduck is the only player that's really impressed me with how he controls. Now we do see the first man drop on Mr. Rolls.
The man drop, the bear drop coming in. Rolls is dead from this one. Not going to be able to escape that, I'm afraid. Double stuns. There's just no getting back from it. There's nothing he can do about that. He uses barrier, but look at this. Impaler going to use the darkness to get in, but he can't catch Jesus, who actually did use his flash there just to back up. We'll see if Super Hot Crew can take the tower. I don't think so at this point, and that leaves SK with control over the bottom lane and sets them up there for Dragon.
Yeah, very, very good play from SK. They grabbed themselves a kill on Mr. Riles, instantly chain that into a Dragon. So this is going to give them a nice, healthy gold lead. We did see a decent attempt from Impaler, but he didn't follow up Jez's flash. They full caught Impaler.
Oh, it's a lot of damage. Didn't follow on from that one. He actually got condemned onto the corner of the wall. Could have spelled a little bit of disaster there for Impaler after losing out on the Dragon as well. But SK certainly will be happy with this one, taking that early lead with the Dragon. And now that kill lead as well at 2-for-1. It leaves them just under 2,000 gold in the lead of this game as we approach 10 minutes in.
So this makes Super Hot Crew's next couple of minutes very, very important. Because they're already falling behind in gold, you can see their lanes are basically in favor of SK Gaming. You've got Renekton, who's got a good, healthy CS lead on Mima. You've got Vayne, who's got a kill under her name already, got a couple hundred gold lead. If Super Hot Crew do not stop the rot right now and combo a good Zac engage in conjunction with Nocturne engage, SK can just start to spiral this game out of control for Super Hot Crew.
Well, this top lane there, we just saw that Zac is still behind this one, 20 CS. In fact, Freddy doing a good job of standing on those blobs to stop Mima getting those heals back into things. And, you know, Mima struggling with that one. He's going to have his Sunfire Cape done in just a little while. And I don't think he should necessarily die to Freddy, especially with his passive still available from that one. But certainly he's going to be feeling a little bit of pressure to make sure that he hits every last hit.
I think he's feeling a lot of pressure right now. 10 minutes in, he's 20 CS down. You can see Freddy just started to invade on Super Hot Crew's jungle. So with SK having a little bit of control in this top area of the map, you could combine Freddy's invade with Svenskaren's Grand Skyfall, and that could be a good way to start challenging, maybe even focusing Impaler. Don't give Impaler the chance to counter gank with Paranoia if you're jumping on him first. We'll see how SK play this one out, because that's a lot of deep vision on the side of Super Hot Crew's jungle.
I like the move as well. They know that Nocturne is now not at least on that side, and here comes the Pantheon drop right in there. They're going for Mixer. The bear comes down on top of him as well. It's Candy Panda who picks up kill number 2. This bottom lane is absolutely out of control for SK now.
The theoretical counter, or at least potential counter, to a Pantheon man drop was there from Impaler, but Super Hot Crew have not been able to use it. We've not seen that Paranoia used to deal with the Pantheon ultimate or to try counter it in any way. And now that you've seen Impaler in the bottom lane, he showed his face. Freddy is 100% confident, farming between these towers in the top lane and making Mima's life even more difficult.
Steady Freddy, as always, up top there. And he's not missed many a beat, to be honest, this season. We've talked about it so often that he's been such a rock in that top lane for SK Gaming, and he continues that trend here, making sure that he takes all the CS as he goes. Mima doing, I think, the right thing in this scenario as well, and making sure the wave actually stays quite far up. There's going to be no turret damage coming in from either side.
What's great about that decision from Mima is that he's also reducing the chance of being tower doped. As long as he knows where Freddy is and the minion wave is not at his tower, it makes it more difficult for SK Gaming to jump on him. And like you said, Steady Freddy, I definitely think the most underrated top laner in the EU LCS. He's had so many good games against so many top-tier opponents, and he always does well. He also likes to farm between those turrets a lot. It is something that I think he does more than any other player in the league right now.
And doing it to great success. There's that ward timing out from Freddy just moments ago that he put down, and that gives them vision of Impaler. Lets them know, okay, Jesus, from this point, you're the guy that could be in trouble when that Paranoia, if that Paranoia comes down. In the end, though, Jesus just sits back on his turret, continues to farm, gets the heal from himself. He's plenty happy in that mid lane.
So the question for me now is, where do SK go from now? Dragon's going to spawn in 2 minutes' time. Freddy has not left this top lane. He's made no intention of leaving that lane with the exception of invading Super Hot Crew's jungle. So I'm anticipating Svenskaren to move his way to the bottom lane, challenge for the next Dragon, and then maybe start the split push game. Let Jesus and the rest of SK defend Super Hot Crew's pushes, throw spears out to prevent them diving, and maybe allow Candy Panda to determine the tempo of the game with his bait.
They've got so much vision down all over that's catching Super Hot Crew. There's a spear coming through. A little bit too late there to actually steal that one away. But they know that Impaler, they know that Moops was down on that bottom side. Mimer's now in between the turrets of Freddy in this top lane. So this top lane is really having kind of not even a battle against each other. They said, we don't care about the harass at this point. We're just going to go off onto our own little beaches of our islands and chill out and have fun in there.
And the bottom lane is because of this. Svenskeren has ganked Mr. Rolls multiple times. He's in range for another man drop. This time, however, Impaler is finally in range to counter it. He's just started recalling. And part of the reason, actually the reason Freddy and Mimer have just decided to farm on their opponent's side of the map is because Impaler and Sven have been called to this bottom lane so many times. It looks like Impaler's going to make his way down here. If another tower dive comes in from Svenskeren, Impaler's going to need a little bit more time to get in range for that paranoia.
Well, Svenskeren has actually backed away from that one. Really, maybe Jesus in the top side, who's got himself a wall of traps set up there on both sides of Moops' exits from the jungle. So Impaler back into the farming game here as he takes down another Wolves camp. Svenskeren is hanging around for middle, and if we look at the timers that we've got at this point, 25 seconds until Dragon comes up. That's important stuff here, because that last time went to SK Gaming would mean a big jump in their lead or an equalizing opportunity for the Super Hot Crew.
And Super Hot Crew have got the vision in the Dragon Pit, or in the river rather, to be aware of when SK go for it. We can see that Impaler's got his ultimate available. There's two sweeping lenses on both sides of the game right now. And we'll see who gets superior vision, because there's a lot of things that can come in from a long, long range. Zac, if he decides to move down, would be very powerful in a Dragon Pit fight because of the small ranges, but he's making no indication of moving. It's actually Freddy that's going to be the first one to respond.
Well, we see wards cleared here by SK Gaming. Dragon is going to be pulled out of the pit with 3 men taking that one off. They're using Jesus basically as a zoner at this point, throwing out those stuns. They're going, Impaler taking a lot of damage. Wild Growth does come down, and a condemn through the flash there actually had already connected and pushed Moops against the wall. SK have very commanding positioning here on the Dragon. Can they steal it? Impaler comes in. He's not going to get the steal, and he may well just die. There's the finishing blow this time from Enrated. The box goes down, but will they escape? The man drop comes in. Who are they going to go for? It's on towards Mixer, and he's a dead man as well. Svenskeren picks that one up. SK running riot right now.
I don't understand what Super Hot Crew were doing in that situation. Moops was backing away, Mimer was still in the mid lane, and you've seen Mr. Riles and Impaler trying to challenge. Yes, maybe if Impaler goes in with his ultimate, there's the potential for a smite steal, but Mr. Riles and Mixer, I think they should have backed away. I think they should have played that a little bit more safely. SK Gaming grabbed themselves the kills, the Dragon, and they get out clean. Super Hot Crew do, however, get a tower, so that's some objective gold on their side.
That tower on the bottom is going to be hit hard here by Candy Panda, but Mr. Rolls full HP will be trying to repel that attack as we see Jesus landing the spear onto Moops. Wasn't in tower range there either, so Jesus didn't even pull the aggro from it. Impaler is going to come in and keep that one alive for now, but Jesus will just stand his ground. He knows the mid lane has gone back, he knows the jungler's there behind the tower range. He's safe to just stick out where he is and keep pushing.
I also like the pick of Nidalee into Lulu. Lulu has very few bad matchups, if any at all. But Nidalee's not necessarily going to lose to the very poke-heavy, very bully-heavy Lulu. So over the course of this game, you actually see that Jesus has got a CS lead, thanks to the fact that Nidalee can heal himself, is very mobile, can dodge those glitter lances when she's in the Cougar form, and it's just allowed him to go even and actually pull ahead of Moops' Lulu in these opening 17 minutes. So it was a very smart, not the word counter, but it was a very smart pick into that champion.
Look at this bottom lane in terms of the overall picture. 2-0-2 for Candy Panda, just slightly behind in CS here of Mr. Oz. He's got that Blade of the Ruin King in as well now. On the other side, Bloodthirster did get completed already by Mr. Oz. Only the boots really separating their build at this stage.
And I think if I were Mr. Oz, I'd like to see him maybe go for a Trinity Force as his next item. It'll make him a little bit more powerful in these smaller skirmishes, give him a little more dueling potential against whoever jumps onto him. If he goes for the likes of a Last Whisper, it's basically going to make him a culling bot and just really amplifies the damage that culling puts down without giving him those one-on-one or 2v2 situational power spikes. As it stands, SK are just happy to keep laning. It's been a fairly slow, drawn-out laning phase with multiple ganks on bottom. That's been the story of the last 20 minutes.
Impaler here actually decided to go counter jungle the wolves, but he may lose his red buff. Well, he will lose his red buff in the end. Svenskeren, having the help from Freddy as well, will lose out on his Wraith camp as well, but he's more interested in his bottom lane, it seems.
It's going to be quite difficult to tower dive this bottom lane because they don't have as much instant on-target hard CC. The fear from Nocturne needs to channel. Mixer needs to land a Flay or a Death Sentence, which is skill shots, and Lucian's obviously not going to offer in the way of crowd control, so Impaler doesn't actually pull the trigger on that tower dive. Does get potentially caught out, takes the Lantern to safety thanks to Mixer.
Takes the Lantern and gets his red buff back, which, much to the annoyance of Svenskeren, I think there he was trying to get down fast enough to prevent that one from slipping away from him. The mid laner's going to be getting their blue buffs on their spawns as well. That one in for Moops, and Jesus in the meantime just hammering through on this middle turret. Svenskeren going to join in, and well, that's what happens. Moops left his lane to get blue. It's left that mid turret completely unattended, and it's a nice pickup for them.
Yeah, definitely worked in his favor. Mimer's now in trouble from Freddy. We do see Pantheon moving in range. There's a Skydrop!
Oh, this is going to be risky. Mimer has that passive available. What's he going to do? He bounces around, but there is the pop instantly. Freddy's tanking up the turret. He's gone with the Spirit Visage first, so not masses of armor, but they've got the damage, that's for sure. And Mimer does go down for the first time in this game, and that's going to further increase how far he's fallen behind Freddy.
And look at Jesus, is able to just leap away in Cougar form. We didn't see Impaler going for the paranoia, didn't combo himself with Moops' Lulu, and that just allowed Jesus to get away. So they trade top tower for bottom tower. Super Hot Crew at least staying even on towers killed. But once again, SK Gaming making a play, making an aggressive notion, getting away with it, and Super Hot Crew with no reply.
2-2 on the towers and 6,000 gold that they are falling behind now at this point, so see that how that one develops. The top lane is actually, on Mimer in particular, obviously just after dying, picked himself up the cowl and that Warden's mail as well. So he's kind of split on two different items from that one, but also allows him to balance out his defensive statistics a little bit more on that. One thing that he's struggling with, of course, is that farm, because Freddy's just been a beast in the top lane, been harassing him constantly as he comes out to farm, and up until, to be fair, 20 minutes in this game, despite the harassment, he'd managed to stay alive.
Yeah, nobody actually went there though. It was just leaving the top laners on an island, and they farmed themselves up. Jesus is hiding in the bush. Spear does not connect, but Super Hot Crew be aware of it, and you see they back away instantly. The biggest story of this game right now is the fact that Candy Panda is ahead on CS and kills. Oh, they're going on in rated!
Paranoia goes in there, Impaler gets the wild growth. They've gone for Candy Panda. They've got Candy Panda as well. Moops goes down. There is Tibbers on towards Mixer. I think they're going to have to back away here, SK Gaming. They do start to back away. Jesus going to throw a couple of spears over the side. Doesn't have the range to land on towards Royals, who stepped back to avoid it. There was another one thrown in. Meanwhile, Freddy having a good go at this middle tower.
Mimer's up in the top lane pushing the tower down as well, and the reason that Super Hot Crew got away with that fight was the fact that Mixer landed the hook on Candy Panda. Super Hot Crew invested all their damage onto the vein of Candy Panda, even though Impaler was sort of zoning people with that paranoia, and worked out in his favor. Mimer's going to get away. This is a good Skyfall just to save the tower, basically.
Yeah, tower saved there by Svenskeren. That should be off cooldown once he gets called in, although that takes him about as far as he could possibly be away from the Dragon, which has spawned in, and we can see that the Super Hot Crew have already made their move over towards it.
There is a timer on this one. Oh, they know that the Grand Skyfall's not available, so this is actually a smart play from Super Hot Crew, realizing that SK can't jump in there, and I think realizing that SK were backing away and dead, this is a very quick, good decision-making play for the team. The problem is, it's a little bit late. You know, Super Hot Crew are 5,000 gold down, they've lost 4 towers, they've got very little map presence, and it's going to be a very difficult job, especially on the vision side right now, dealing with 3 sweeping lenses, gaining control of the sight game, which will allow them to get control of the map.
A couple of other items coming in. Black Cleaver for Svenskeren. Actually, we see Impaler going a little bit of a different route this time, and he's going to be building up towards that locket.
So we've seen the locket pickups into the shield. Freddy's in a little bit of trouble. I was thinking Mimer's going to go into sides against it. And we've seen the lockets generally on junglers that get ahead. Normally, if you've got a couple thousand gold from some kills or some towers, the shield that you get from Locket of the Alliance Solari after upgrading from Aegis works very well in your favor. At this point, I think because Impaler's behind, and his team is behind, the stats that item will give him should at least make up some of that deficit, but it's by no means going to be enough to make up 6,000.
There's another blue buff picked up by Jesus, who has a Rabadon's Death Cap now added into Thene's Unholy Grail from earlier on. Our top lane is going to be a continuation of head bashing between Crocodile and Zac. Mima obviously going to take quite a bit of damage from it, but he doesn't seem too worried. He has a red buff takeout once again. Second time in a row for SK. Impaler replied last time by taking away SK's red buff. We'll see if SK can get down there and control theirs this time around.
It's so much riskier for Super Hot Crew to go that deep into SK's territory because they have so few towers to fall back to. We do see SK with an aggressive invade. Impaler's in trouble.
Oh, Impaler in more than a little bit of trouble from this one. It's a good spear. The spear flashed away from there, and somehow he manages to live through that one very, very closely. I'm even caught out, as we are going to see Mima again push towards that turret by Freddy, and here comes the man drop. Can they lock him down? He tries to jump up in the air, but he's been stunned already. Freddy gets the kill. Jesus has come up to help out with that one. Didn't even need him. That's another kill.
Yeah, Mima didn't have his passive to come back up, so unfortunately he gets taken down. When he's bouncing all up and down, gets that tenacity, allows him to at least get away from the stun a little quicker. Now the rest of Super Hot Crew trying to defend.
Oh, there is Mixer caught out by Tibbers. They're going to throw a lot on him. Wild Growth actually coming down as well. And Rated is going to die from this one, and they've repelled this attack here. This is good from the Super Hot Crew. Spears coming in from the side there as well, but in the end, I suppose a drawn out 1-for-1 in the end.
Yeah, trading support for top lane. Had Mima been in that fight and been able to offer some initiation with the Elastic Slingshot and Let's Bounce, that could have gone so much better for the Super Hot Crew, but they didn't have that front line. Once again, we've seen Impaler diving on the back. This time, instead of trying to zone out Enraged and the rest of the team, Impaler tried to zone out Candy Panda. Used that paranoia, threw down the fear on Candy Panda, and Candy Panda was forced to back away. He wasn't on the tower, he wasn't on the champions, and it allowed Super Hot Crew to get the kill and get out.
Now, a few more items being picked up from this one. That Locket of the Iron Solari, for example, now done. Actually was done just before that last fight. The Lich Bane in there for Lulu as well. Lucian's got his last Whisper on top of that Bloodthirster. So a little bit more developed in terms of items here, the Super Hot Crew. Kind of showed during that last fight where they were able to do more, able to repel SK Gaming from that serious attack up onto the inner turret in the top lane.
Yeah, and of course, SK were quite overextended. They were fighting behind the turret. They took a lot of damage early on. And because Freddy wasn't able to run amok in the backline, Freddy was forced very, very low, took a lot of damage from the tower and from Moops' Lulu. He didn't offer anything in the way of zone control or presence. So without that front line, SK are a little bit fragile. But they do have a 6,000 gold, 7,000 gold buffer right now, so they can afford to play a little riskier because they've got the additional stats to actually mitigate that risk they're taking.
One thing that we've not heard from the crowd here or from us yet is ooh when a spear comes out, but we're getting to that level now. Another blasting one added in. And there, of course, was the ooze from the crowd. I kind of asked for that one.
So part of the reason it hasn't happened, I think, is because we've had no real siege situations. We haven't seen Super Hot Crew sieging down SK's turrets where defensive spears would hurt, and we haven't seen SK grouping up under a turret of Super Hot Crew to throw them out. What's basically happened is SK Gaming have had better ganks, which has given them turrets uncontested. And because of that fact, Super Hot Crew have not really been too worried about those javelins. As you were talking about it, though, we do see a group of SK Gaming members starting to move towards that inner turret, so we might have our first ooh moment of the game.
Well, I can only hope so. In that last game, we had a few moo moments as well with the Alistair. Oh, and there it is! Mr. Arles down to half HP. There we go. I knew it was going to happen. Good stuff. Jesus throwing them out to Impaler as well. And he can keep pretty much everyone's zone from this. Impaler's just looking for an opportunity there if things do get started. But to be frank, with Lucian going so low from that one, the threat of Nidalee always on this side entrance into the jungle is always going to be a pain to defend. That turret, SK Gaming take another one. It puts them 5-2 up on that front and a very solid gold lead now.
So I want to go back to the pregame video that we heard where Super Hot Crew said in order to beat SK, we have to stop this split push. One of the probably the best counter to a split push team or a team that is split pushing is hard engage. And when you've got Zac and Nocturne, that is very, very hard engage. The problem for Super Hot Crew is, because they fell behind so much so early, they haven't been in a position where they can engage on SK Gaming. They need to do it soon, or this 9,000 gold lead is going to cost them.
Oh, Mima here, going to have his passive pops, and they should have enough damage, but will they commit to this one? Svenska pulled in, box goes down from them, there is Impaler coming around the side as well. A couple of men down to half health there for SK, but maybe not the more important ones. They still have Jesus to poke away from the side, and he does so. Mixer down to half HP, and Ward's put over the side there to try and get vision of Jesus, but he's going to continue to be a menace, and it's kind of easy to throw in those speeds. Of course, as I say that, he flashed straight through the middle of them, dodged by the Super Hot Crew. This turret is very low, and a fight might cost the Super Hot Crew.
Now, SK Gaming know that there's no paranoia and there's no let's bounce. So the threat of being grouped up under this tower is a lot less, which is why SK Gaming are sticking around. That's the third Ooh Spear of the game. You see Mixer backing away. Good spell shield from Impaler, but Candy Panda and the rest of SK are going to need to be a little careful. If those cooldowns were available for Super Hot Crew, SK could have been engaged upon, but they weren't. So SK grabbed themselves the 6th tower of the game.
Yep, they head back from this one. The red buff gonna be stolen away by Candy Panda. And earlier on in the season, SK did have a few games where they had leads and threw them away almost. The thing that they've not done in these games is do that kind of thing. These wins, these solid wins that they've had, they've looked like a much more complete team when they've had a good, solid hold on to the map and a lead across all fronts. Impaler is going to get slightly caught out from this one, but here's the backup. Rawls and Moop's coming in from this one. Now they focus on towards Svenska. He's going to go down. Rest of the team actually coming in. This is a big, messy fight. Jesus will pick up Impaler with a spear, but now who are they going to go for? Tibbers goes down. Double kill coming in for Jesus. Mima's got no passive, but he's got the jump, and he does get away to the backside. They spot Moops down the bottom. He flashes over the wall as well. Jesus almost leaped out towards him, didn't really scratch a lot, and they go back off towards Dragon. A 2-for-1 in the end. Nice little comeback in that one for SK.
Yeah, Super Hot Crew grouped up. It's not over yet. Maybe it is.
Jumps away.
Mima's in trouble.
What are you going to do? You're going to flash? You're going to throw a spear? Yes, you are. Jesus throws that over. So clever. Getting the vision by putting the trap down. They took the Dragon. They took the kill. SK are in the driving seat.
What we've seen from Super Hot Crew this game is their communication and calling is faltering. From the very, very early moments of the game, where Mixer flashed forward and Mr. All did not follow it up, they gave up first blood. It cost them. This is a replay of the fight, and we see, first of all, it actually starts with Candy Pan and Sven being overextended. Now look at the positioning here for Super Hot Crew. They come in, they're grouped as 5. All 5 members of Super Hot Crew are together, and they split up. This could be a little bit of overconfidence. You see in the bottom lane, Mr. Oz and Mixer going on their own mission, and it just leaves the rest of the Super Hot Crew backline to get shut down. Unfortunately for them, cost them multiple kills and that Dragon.
So, well, it cost them a Baron here. Good hook onto Enrated, but sadly for them, nothing to follow up with. There is that ward, a pink ward, I should say, at the front for SK. And that will allow them to clear out the green ward at the back that was put down for the Super Hot Crew. And the second one. Will they start this Baron off, though? We've got no vision actually on the backside there, apart from that trap that just granted them a little bit as they went down. And in the end, it's just going to be a bit of an exchange. That's what they were trying to do all along. Aggro the Baron to stop Enrated hanging around in the pit.
So the one saving grace Super Hot Crew had was if Zack and Nocturne got onto Candy Panda, they could potentially have killed him, which then could have allowed a 5v4 Super Hot Crew to win a fight. Unfortunately, because Candy Panda has that Guardian Angel, you see it around him, it's going to be so much more difficult for Super Hot Crew to win. This is going to be a desperation fight. Look for the Elastic Slingshot to start us off. SK have peeled away. They want the fight instead.
There's the first spear going to land. Is there a stun? Yes, on towards Mima. Candy Panda's actually at the front, but look at that. He tumbles out towards the back. Impaler gets wild growth. Mima bounces around, but that's not going to save him. Impaler's dead as well. Moves all alone. He gets stunned up. That's a Blade of the Ruin King. Renekton hammering away, and now they're chasing onto Rawls. Another spear lands. Not enough to finish off the ace, but SK Gaming here, we've got 30 to 40 second spawn timers are going to do a lot of damage.
And what I like is they didn't go back for the Baron. They realized that Super Hot Crew were down. They could get the inhibitor and potentially back away and get the Baron as well. This is going to give Super Hot Crew much more map presence. They're going to reset the siege in the bottom or top lane, continue spamming out those spears, and then just dive when they want to.
Back away from that one with 4 kills, the inhibitor taken down, and a 15,000 gold lead to boot. And it's going to take a colossal mistake from them here to actually give up this game at this point. Baron is started off, no one even remotely close for the Super Hot Crew. This is looking so good for SK.
Yeah, SK Gaming have done everything right from the laning phase. Impaler's Nocturne could theoretically have worked against Svenskeren's Pantheon, but it didn't this game. Every Grand Skyfall that we've seen from Sven has worked out in favor of SK. It has led to kills, it has led to towers, it's led to dragons, and it's allowed them to get the 16,000 gold lead and the Baron buff as well. There's one kill on multiple members of SK, and Freddy still untouched. That Renekton going unkilled.
Yeah, Steady Freddy's actually been a little bit more than steady this game around. I mean, look at his items. Blade of the Ruin King in there for that extra damage. The Thorn Mail just to make it even harder for anyone to really do a lot to him whatsoever. Got so much armor, got that Spirit Visage in there as well. We look to the jungle and there's a nice mix of damage and tankiness that's coming out for Svenskeren. Obviously, Jesus is all about the poke right now. He's going to have himself a Zhonya's, which makes him harder to take down in the end. This, as I said before, is going to take a bit of a miracle for the Super Hot Crew.
Yeah, SK Gaming have to make a monumental mistake like they did against Alliance. When SK Gaming had an inhibitor secured and a Baron against Alliance last week, they picked fights in the mid lane to try and get a town that they didn't need to. And Alliance were able to respond. They had a Wukong in the game. Alliance actually jumped on SK multiple times in a row. You see, this time round, SK have actually split themselves up. They haven't overextended. They've got a bigger lead than they did last time as well. And now we'll see how many spears Jesus can land. The moment a spear does connect, SK Gaming are just going to have a free window to get on that turret.
Really making sure that they have to come to the middle and get rid of those super minions as well. Candy Panda getting a couple of shots in, just tumbles away from the chain. There's half of Mixer's health gone with just that single spear coming out, and a bit of brute force that's getting him in there, and they still continue to land these spears through. But that's just a matter of time before that one goes on. They line the entry as well on those steps with those spears from Jesus, which at this point do their fair share of damage if you happen to walk over them.
While all of that was going on, Freddy was sitting in the mid lane. Freddy just kept pushing it up. He just carried on pushing with the super minions. Super Hot Crew, if they tried to engage, Freddy could have come in directly from behind him. He's super tanky, he's got a lot of damage, and he could shut them down. The siege is now on. Look for the spears. As soon as the spear connects, that's going to be the go signal. Tower's low, they're going in.
Well, they've got the hook here on towards Freddy. He's the man you want, though. Mixer going very low. The culling comes out, but it's not doing a whole lot. Here comes the man drop in the backside of them. It means that Mimer's all isolated. He's got his passive, but that won't keep him alive for long. Meanwhile, Mook's chased down there by Candy Panda. There is the turret falling. This is inhibitor number 3 down and out by SK Gaming. And they've got 50 seconds until Mimer actually comes back into play. Are they going to finish now?
They definitely have the tools available. Super Hot Crew have to put up a godlike defense, and I don't think they have the opportunity. There's no let's bounce, there's no initiation. Super Hot Crew not even trying.
The push straight through here from SK Gaming. A hook came in, but it's not enough. SK Gaming take the victory here against the Super Hot Crew, and honestly, they made it look a little bit easy. This has been typical SK in the games that they've won, in the games that they've done so well in over the last few weeks. They've not let go of these strong positions that they've built for themselves.
And once again, Svenskeren leading the way. He got the first blood kill on that first kill with his Grand Skyfall in the bottom lane. Rinsed and repeated a couple times more, using that man drop over and over to secure kills. And as a team, SK Gaming just made better decisions. I think if you go back to the very early moments, Super Hot Crew just caught out a few times too many, and maybe not all on the same page.
They had a good showing across the board as well. I mean, it's obviously we look sometimes and see a massively outstanding score or a person that made a massive impact in one area of the map, but they really were across the board very, very impressive.
I think every member of SK Gaming did the exact job that was required for the game. They didn't make overly risky plays. When there was dragons available, they grouped up, they fought for dragons. If there wasn't, they just sat in lane. They didn't go very, deep into the enemy jungle, and the few times they did, they always got wards down. It was always very calculated. So if I would say anything, that was probably the safest play we've seen from SK, and it worked out because everything they did was calculated, it was for an objective, and it worked in their favor.
Well, if I look back at the games that they've played in the last couple of weeks, wins over Fnatic, Gambit, Roccat, they had that slip onto Alliance. was their even week, though, and the game that they won in their even week last week. But now they've beaten the Super Hot Crew, a team which before this match were at 4 wins out of 5 games. It's really on the up for SK Gaming, and sat at 8 and 7 now. That means that they overtake the Super Hot Crew because they were tied coming into this one. But things are looking so strong.
The thing that I really like about the SK Gaming team right now is that they're doing what Fnatic did last split, using the split push, using the map to their advantage. Individually, their players aren't necessarily all the flashiest. They aren't necessarily the ones that always get the hashtag LCS big plays, but they're always consistent. You seldom see a member of SK Gaming underperforming or really losing their lane or being stomped. It's always on par with what you need and what you expect at this level of play.
Brilliant stuff. Another win for SK Gaming, guys. We need to head back to base, but when we return, Shocks and this guy here next to me will be speaking with Jesus from SK Gaming. Then it's on to Millennium, who desperately need a win to start climbing the table, versus the second-place Gambit, who are back in action this week with all their starters in place. But
hello again, everyone, and welcome back, as Quickshot and I are joined here by Jesses after that victory. Impressive play from you guys once again. What was the game plan going into picks and bans?
We kind of knew what Moops was going to play, and we banned his Gragas, and since Kale and Six is nerfed, we kind of knew that he was going to pick Lulu. And I've been practicing some champions against Lulu, and I think it was fine. I mean, I died once from the gank, which was, in my opinion, unexpected, because I'm always thinking that Nocturne can never gank early. I always have that mindset, so I was just like, I don't even know. I didn't even flash until like really late, until after I got feared, so it was really dumb. But it ended out well, and Lulu didn't get the kill, so it was still equal. And after I get Athenes and Blue as Nidalee, I kind of like outscale. Like, she can't poke me anymore at all. So
It's actually something that I mentioned during the course of the game, that Lulu has very few bad matchups. Lulu bullies a lot of people, and there's very few champions that can actually counter her. Now, Nidalee seems to be a champion that can go even. In your mind, is there a counter? Is there a champion that can beat Lulu in the laning phase?
Depends on the Lulu. If the Lulu is like really high skilled, like top-notch Lulu, I personally think there's nothing that can beat Lulu. We've seen that in some solo queue players, on EU and Korea. Like, there's nothing that beats Lulu, a real good Lulu. So, but I mean, people haven't really practiced for that long, so it's not that hard to beat right now. So
maybe a quick follow-up on that. If we talk about Lulu, why do you pick Nidalee when we haven't seen it that often, and you seem to really love it? And how did it work? How does it work in team fights?
Nidalee is very, in team fights, you can't really go all in. You have to always stay behind and just throw spears and spam heal and throw traps for the tanks. That's pretty much all you can do in team fights. And then later on you can pick up by going Cougar form, but that's mainly it. You can only stand in the back line, just spam your spells. And
we actually have a very good example of that, how Nidalee goes in team fights.
Yeah, so let's actually pull up the replay on your screens. It's something that took place close to a dragon. Now, I want to start this one off by saying that you guys moved into the pit. Take a look at the fight. 16 minutes in, there's only a 3,000 gold lead. And as you were mentioning, Nidalee hanging back behind your front line. Let's roll the replay here and talk to me, what's going through your team's calling and your communication at this point in time?
They're just calling dragon, but wait.
So at this point in time, Mixer and Mr. Rawls come in, you see Impaler diving. Yeah. How do you respond to Impaler going in for the steal?
Thing is, before he dived in, we had him poked pretty hard, so we knew he was really low, so if he were to go all in, we would just instantly kill him and stop dragon. At one point, when we see him ulting, we just stop dragon, and we just go on him and just burst him down, and then we pick up dragon, just pick up the rest.
What is the communication like in your team when you see Impaler throw in? Like, who's yelling, and then who yells to chase afterwards?
The ones standing inside the pit, they just yell, kill Nocturne, kill Nocturne. And then we just all say, okay, can we catch these guys? Yeah, we can catch them, go, go.
They, of course, had another threat there, Zach, something we haven't seen that often either. Is that something you specifically geared up against, or was it not that big of a threat?
We had no clue that they were going to pick Zac and Nocturne, but they're not that strong picks, like they're tier 3 or something. Like, they're pretty low tires, and we weren't really scared going up against it. Like, we had no clue what it could do, but we knew after lane phase that we had pressure on every lane. Like, there was no way they could do anything. So Zac didn't really come into play at all.
I have to give you guys props and credit for the pressure you had in the lane, because it seemed as though you guys were playing fairly safe for the most part. And it was only when a dragon was available or a buff was up that you wanted to steal that you challenged for. Was this a conscious decision considering you lost to Alliance playing a little risky last week?
When we played against Alliance, our risky plays and our aggressive playstyle even surprised me. Like, I was thinking, wait, what? Because everyone's making like really aggressive calls. And then I'm thinking for myself, what is this? We've never played so aggressive. And then we started getting hyped and getting unfocused. So I don't know. This game, we probably just thought of more, like playing more safe and doing more safe things to not become overhyped.
So tomorrow, not too aggressive versus Alliance, because you, of course, have the rematch again coming up. How do you think you will do versus Froggen?
Against Froggen, well, right now, the mid lane and, well, the solo laners the solo lanes are pretty boring because there's not much kill potential, like 1v1, so it's usually just farm, wait for gank, objectives, nothing special. So going up against Froggen is not going to be that big of a deal, so.
Not that big of a deal. Well, we'll see. Congratulations once again. Great game from you. And now we're going to check in on what the fans are saying on Twitter. Of course, earlier today, we asked you to tell us who has been your European LCS top lane MVP so far and why. And here are just a few of your answers. The first one is from @LolJeturna. Top lane MVP in the EU LCS has to be Kevin. His stats make him stand out in a field of top laners that all lack major impact.
I'm chiming in on this one because I completely agree. I think Kevin's a player that we don't necessarily hype or talk about too much, but he's got the least deaths, the most kills, second most assists. He is phenomenal in the top lane. I would also say that your teammate, Freddy, is probably next in line if I were to give a silver medal.
Yeah, and you spotted that because our second tweet is from @7UC Dark Phoenix. My EU LCS top lane MVP has to be Freddy122. His Renekton was excellent, and he is the most consistent player in all the LCS. He is, of course, your teammate, so what can you say about Freddy?
Freddy is really, really good in this meta. That he's really, really good at tanks. Like, he's really top level. Not much else to say. He's doing his job. So.
Consistently doing his job. And the last one is from @Dr. Hindsight. More than anyone, Rocket, Zazas has stood out as an unstoppable top lane force, consistently dominating his opponents. That's strong words.
Considering it's coming from Dr. Hindsight, in hindsight, the Jax pick against the Aatrox, maybe not the smartest, but yes, for the rest of the performances, I think he's very solid. He's also got a fairly diverse champion pool, and we'll have to see if he can keep it up.
Well played, Trevor. Now, those tweets were definitely some MV tweets. Now, remember, you can follow us @LOL Esports and use the hashtag LCS to dive into the chat. Now, let's send things back over to D-Man and the Fish Show to get into the next game.